So I have a problem. I love guitar pedals, and that is a hobby or interest or fascination that is difficult to explain to regular people or the non-musicians in your life, and even in some cases to the other musicians in your life. For the vast majority of the last few years, is that a way you would word that? I don't know. Anyway, for quite a few of the last few years, I have used a big pedal board. Some would call unreasonably large pedal board. Let's actually This is the pedal board. Now, it can barely fit in the shot because I'm squeezed in here trying to get this funky shot. But this is my pedal board. This is a Pedal Train Novo 24 that I got quite a few years ago, and it's been the pedal board that I've used with my band. And often when I play shows, and not just my current band, with my previous band, but often when I play shows, I am the one with the biggest pedal board on the bill. And not just often the biggest pedal board, but often the only pedal board with what we would call boutique pedals on it. And I've always thought that was cool. I've always loved having lots of pedals. I've always loved having a big pedal board. Don't like lugging and loading it in as much as one would. But I've always liked having the options, always liked having the sounds, and always liked being able to create soundscapes. And that is a role I've played in quite a few bands I've been in. I've been the soundscaper guy as well as, a lead guitarist, but that's been kind of one of my roles. And recently, something happened that has made me kind of question this kind of thing that I'm holding here. So it was a couple months ago, maybe, at a show, and my partner and soon-to-be wife, yeah, that's right, it's right, you fucking nerds, I'm getting married, fuck you, offered to help me load my gear in. And I gave her my pedal board while I was carrying my amp, and she remarked about how heavy my pedal board is. Now, I put it down because it's cumbersome, big, and heavy. And she said to me, "Brendan, do you really need all these pedals?" And at the time, I was like, yes, I absolutely do need all these pedals. I use them all. Every pedal has its place. Every place has its pedal, as it were. I use every pedal at some point in the set, in at least one song. But over the last few months, I've been kind of thinking and wondering about that question. And recently, I've asked myself, well, do I actually need all these pedals? So, for the sake of honesty, before we go any further in this video, I wanted to ask some of the people in my life, my friends, my partner, other musicians that I know, bandmates, if I use too many pedals, and I wanted to get their honest responses. So, in the spirit of honesty, let's see what they said.
Larissa, do I have too many guitar pedals?
Yes. Takes too much to move them all.
Oh, okay. What do you think, Riley?
Nah, man, more the merrier.
I appreciate that. Hey, D'Artagnan, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do I use too many guitar pedals?
Fuck no, dude. You could have like another 10.
Okay. Thank you. Lewis, do I use too many guitar pedals?
Just buy
What?
buy some more.
Buy some more.
Just buy some more.
He asked because you are trying to justify.
I think he's making content.
Murray!
Brendan.
Do I use too many guitar pedals?
No, of course not.
Do I use too many guitar pedals, in your opinion? I'm going to take that as a yes. Yo, what's up?
Hey dude, sorry Mr. Call, I was just parking.
Nah, you're right. I just have a quick question to ask you. If you've got a second. Do you think I use too many guitar pedals?
No. Why?
No? Okay, I'm just wondering. Just gathering some information.
I think you don't use enough.
You don't think I use enough? You think I should use more?
I think you could be known for tasteful and interesting pedal work, yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. I feel like you're probably the only person I'm going to ask who will say that, so I appreciate your support of the cause.
In fact, I think more content around your pedals would be better.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, thankfully, this is going to be part of a YouTube video, so I hope you're all right. This being included in a video.
No, that's fine.
Cool. All right. Thank you, man. I'll let you get back to your record store shit or whatever you're doing.
See you later.
All right. See ya. Bye. Oh, I really regret sitting on the floor. Now, why do so many guitarists, myself included, use so many guitar pedals? Well, in my mind, there's a couple of different reasons, right? So obviously at the top, you have the pro level players, the professionals, whether they're in someone else's band, like they're a hired gun, or they're an artist in their own right. They might have big rigs, and that's because these artists have a career, or they're playing music from a career's worth of albums and recordings and sounds. And maybe part of that is they need to achieve lots of different sounds. You know, you may have a hit song where you use one random pedal and the fans are going to love that song, and maybe it just wouldn't be right if you didn't have that certain pedal for that certain song. And often these guys, obviously, you know, you have roadies and that sort of thing. Not all of them, but some of them. At the top level, you do. Talking about, like, you know, John Mayer and his 3 pedal boards. I mean, fuck that guy. That's a whole different video on its own. I am not a John Mayer fan. Fuck John Mayer. Hot takes with Brendo. Fuck John Mayer. But apart from the pro guys, as you start going down the list, you have the more kind of working class musicians, and then, you know, working class, I mean, like, you know, your working musicians, people who maybe it's a semi-professional gig, you play on the weekends, whatever, and then you've got your home hobbyists. Now, home hobbyists don't really factor into this equation much, because if you're playing at home, you don't take your pedal board anywhere, and this is fine, I'm not shitting on people like this, I did this for a long time before I started playing in bands, just, you know, like, yeah, fucking have a big pedal board, why not? But you're kind of people who are playing gigs, your weekend warriors, which I am currently one of, hoping to upgrade, move up to the next step at some point. You know, your weekend warriors, you see guys loading into gigs with pedal boards like this one here, and you kind of wonder, like, what's the fucking point? Do you really need that shit? Now, there's obviously lots of guys and girls who don't, who just have simple, small pedal boards to achieve simple, small, well, not even simple, but often awesome, simple sounds. And the simplicity does not mean they're bad. You know, it's just, that's what they go for. But how does a hobbyist or a weekend warrior end up with such a big pedal board in the first place when really, you know, if there's some redundancies or whatever, it's not necessary? Well, I know from my experience, when I started collecting pedals, you know, I started with just a Boss multi-effects unit that sat on the floor, and all I really used was the wah, but then, you know, I started mucking around with more of the settings, and then I wanted to expand. And then the first standalone pedal I ever got was this Big Muff here. And once I got this, you know, I was off to the races. I started, you know, with my first part-time job, I started spending all my money on guitar pedals, phases, you know, delays, what have you. And then you get to a point where you go, well, I probably should get a pedal board because, you know, your pedals are just sitting on the floor. So you get a pedal board, but it's probably a smallish one because you don't have many pedals, and big pedal boards can be pricey. So you just get a small pedal board, but then you keep getting more pedals, and suddenly you've outgrown your current pedal board. And at this point, you upgrade, and you're still trying to put every pedal you own on a pedal board, right? Well, eventually you get to a point, if you're like me, where you have more pedals than you have room on a pedal board. You have more pedals than you would have room on 2 pedal boards, you know. And then that's when it gets to the point. But there is still this kind of, in my belief anyway, this innate need for people, this innate drive to being like, well, you know, I should put as many pedals as I own on my pedal board. And it's a fair enough thought process because, well, you own those pedals, you bought those pedals, you probably, you know, the vast majority of us are buying pedals with our own money that we work from, you know, we earn by working boring day jobs, you know, and fair enough, put the pedals on the pedal board, put them all on there. But, is it really necessary? Are you overdoing it a bit? A great man once said, "You spent so much time thinking about whether you could that you didn't stop and consider whether you should." I think Aristotle said that, maybe. But that question pertains to what we are talking about today. Should you use as many pedals as you can? Should you have a huge pedal board? Now, I'm not here to tell anyone what they should and shouldn't do. I'm just here to impart my pearls of misguided and misinformed wisdom. But I want to talk about some scenarios where maybe you don't need to use it. Let's talk about redundancy. So, a lot of the times I will see pedal boards where the chosen owner of said pedal board has maybe 4 pedals, maybe 3, that all ostensibly do the same thing. I'm talking about the guys who have like a Klon, a Tube Screamer, a Blues Breaker, a Timmy, all on their pedal board, and they're all set to be this kind of low to medium gain overdrive. Now, me, in my head, I'm like, well, why do you need all 4 of them? Just take a few off, take 2 off, set the 2 differently. You know, I know those pedals aren't the same. This is just an example. Don't come at me. But, you know, one would wonder, do you really need all 4 overdrives that sound the same? Do you need, you know, 2 delay pedals? Do you need 3 different reverb pedals, even if they do different things? Do you need multiple different types of modulation? Could one modulation do the trick for what you are going for? Now, the other point is people going, well, you know, I use this one pedal in this one song, so I have to have it with me everywhere. Even though, and this is a harsh truth, and this is probably going to annoy some people, but if you're in a position like me, and this is who this video is for, weekend warriors, semi-pro guys, right? No one cares about your guitar tone. No one in the audience cares. No one in the audience is going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe he didn't have this fucking specific delay sound. Like, oh my god, he used a digital delay instead of a tape delay. You know, you could even take this further and it's like, oh god, you know, he used a phaser live when on the recording that modulation there was a chorus. Like, no one cares what sounds you are trying to go for. It needs to come from a place of intent. You need to think about what the intent of the part was. And that's really the main crux of this section is intent. What was the intent in the song? What was the intent of the part when you decided to either make the decision to, I'm going to use a chorus pedal here, or recorded with a chorus pedal? What was the point? What was the intent? Was it to elevate the song? Was it to add some cool movement or evoke a particular emotion through the use of an effect? Or were you using an effect because you have all these effects pedals and you want to put them on every inch of your guitar sound? Now, this is something I've struggled with. I'm not shaming anyone in particular here, but just because you have all these guitar pedals doesn't mean you need to use them. And this you know, thought of intent can extend to playing as well. Like, think about what you're playing. This is a hard lesson that I think a lot of guitarists need to learn. It's like sometimes, you know, not to sound like a boomer, but sometimes you can say a lot more with 1 note than you can with 10. And I think sometimes you can say a lot with a really nice, understated, clean sound, as opposed to a heavily affected, delayed, reverbed, chorused affected guitar tone. And I think you need to think about the intent. And at the end of the day, as much as guitarists like to pretend this isn't the case, we are supporting actors. The guitar is a supporting instrument. You are, in the vast majority of cases, you are supporting the vocals or the main melody instrument or the song, or all three in most cases. You need to do what's best for the song, and you need to think about what's best for the overall picture. One has to wonder, what is more important, the play or their part in the play? And I think a hard lesson that I have really learned over the last few years is that the play always comes first. You might think of you might come up with something that's like, wow, I think this is really cool. I think this part sounds really cool. Or maybe the, over the top way I'm playing this sounds really cool and I really like it. But is it what's best for the song? Does everyone else involved in the creative process like the song, bandmates, producers, whoever, right? Is that something that they enjoy? And I think that's something as guitarists we need to ask ourselves. I think guitarists often get main character syndrome a little bit, and I think we need it helps when you come to the realization that we're not the main character, and sometimes, main supporting actor is perfectly all right. The last point I wanted to touch on was creativity through limitation. Now, I am a big proponent of that, despite what my pedal board looks like, but it is something that I kind of hold dear and I think is a worthwhile kind of philosophy to take into any kind of creative musical endeavor. And I think sometimes having access to all the sounds, access to all the wealth of human creativity as far as effects pedals, amps, guitars go, can get in the way of the simple and joyful act of creating music. If you think of maybe, I'm not a painter, but if we want to take this to a painter analogy, if a painter has access to 500 different colors, they're going to spend ages thinking about which color they should start with. But if they only had access to 4 colors, you're just going to pick one and go for it. And that's how I view music gear. I actually kind of detest sitting there and spending ages getting a guitar sound and making all these tiny little minute differences that no one is going to care about. As long as you get the core of the sound good and it sounds good, then it is good. That is the ultimate kind of phrase to live by. If it sounds good, it is good. Don't worry about what everyone else is using. Just use what you want and what sounds good. And that neatly leads into the last part of this video, which is where I completely walk back everything I've just said and I say, do what you want. Fuck it, do what you want. I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to live your life. If you are a regular gigging musician and you like playing with a big pedal board and you're happy to take it from show to show, then do it. I'm just asking everyone to maybe, or not even asking, but posing the point that maybe we should think about what we do a little bit more. Maybe we should think about the excess that we can often be caught up in this world. Every week a new pedal comes out and it's the great new thing and it's really hyped and everybody wants it, but do you need it? Is it necessary to what you're doing? Now, I don't want to get into the whole money cost thing of buying pedals. I definitely can't afford this lifestyle anymore. But just because you can use something, just because it's the new latest and greatest thing, doesn't mean you have to use it. And if you maybe hold back in the recording studio a little bit, you will save yourself being stuck with having to feel like you have to cart a bunch of pedals around to achieve sounds you achieved on a recording. The album isn't sacred, or it is sacred in a way, but the album can be its own thing. Recorded music can be its own thing, and live it can become slightly different, and no one will care. No one's gonna mind. But what does matter is how you feel about it and what inspires you. I'm a big proponent of also, making sure you feel inspired and making sure you feel like you want to play. Now, obviously, gear isn't everything, and I think people should be okay with not having the perfect guitar tones. You shouldn't let not having the perfect guitar sound ruin your show or ruin a gig, but I think you should be inspired, and you should be allowed, and you should be open to being inspired by these wonderful things that we play, guitars, amps, pedals. You know, they are there to inspire music. They are there to help us create music. They are there to facilitate that creative process. And, you know, I think sometimes, unfortunately, some players, that point can get lost on them, you know, because at the end of the day, we are all here to create music and play guitar for the joy and the love of creating music and playing guitar. Right? Alright everybody, thank you very much for watching. This has been a rambly, ranty style of video. I hope you have enjoyed it. There's trying something a bit new on the channel. I'm very uncomfortable, I'm not very flexible, and I'm sitting on the floor in the crevice between my desk and the wall because I wanted to get the pedal shelf in the background, so I hope it was worth it to you. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you like this kind of stuff, you want me to do more, I've got plenty of opinions, and I'm more than happy to share my outrageous and shitty opinions, sometimes uninformed, sometimes well-informed. You never know what you're gonna get. But yeah, if you like this kind of more talky, pontificate-y type of video, pontificate-y is not a word. If you enjoy me pontificating about the world of guitars, guitar pedals, music, whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Give us a like, and if this video does well, maybe I'll do some more in the future. Alright. Love you. Fuck off. Goodbye.